Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Skyrocket Session with myself, Gareth. It is our third edition of the series, Who is Braintree? And today we've got none other than Chris Badenhorst, who is the strategic head for the Azure business unit within the Braintree team. How's it, Chris?
How's it, Gareth? Hello, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity.
No. Thank you for coming to chat to us. So we know that you're a regular feature on Wednesday morning with Doug in the cuppa, but I thought maybe we'll have sort of a recap session, Chris, and maybe just take it a whole bunch of steps back. And for those of us that are new to the Vox environment, to the Vivica group, to being exposed to what Braintree is about and what we do in Braintree, as I've discussed previously, guys, there's a whole sort of list of functionalities that we provide as Braintree, and we're going to go through it on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Last week we spoke about modern workplace. This week we're going to speak about Azure, and we're just going to keep it very, very simple and look at it from a helicopter perspective and say, what is Azure, Chris? So maybe a win for me would be if you could answer these two questions. What is cloud computing and what is Azure actually, and why should I go into the cloud if I'm a business as opposed to spending money on equipment on site? And what makes Azure, what makes Microsoft's offering, which is Azure, special compared to all the others? If you could answer that for me, I think we've got a win. So over to you.
Great stuff. Great. Thanks, Gareth. If we start out, if I can see my presentation here. There we go. Starting out with, what is cloud computing and why is Azure Azure cloud computing, and how does it differ from the traditional model of data centers that some of our customers or the account managers may know about. So let's start out with the basic construct. In effect, you could have a data center at your office. You could have a workstation that you've converted into a file server, or you've got a workstation that you've converted into a domain controller. I'm very technical, so excuse me if I use jargon that's a little bit off cuff and too technical. But that constitutes, if you take that server, that's a file server, and you put it there in a server room, or you put it in the kitchen, and it's a network with plugged into your network, that's actually considered a data center. In that context, that will be acting as your company's data center. The next level that you take is when you start moving those type of devices and services into what we call the private data centers, and those are the data centers like Vox has. Vox is a data center that's hosted in the data center at Sando. It's in Cape Town and in Durban as well. Or you can look at the MTN data centers, the Vodacom data centers, Dimension Data Internet Solutions data centers, larger data centers, and there's racks and racks of servers where you have you've got a space in, and you operate within those data centers. And
okay, so basically what you're saying, Chris, if I'm correct, and just correct me if I'm wrong. So
yeah.
In the past, we used to have a big room in our office, in our building, where we had a whole bunch of computers and networking stuff and switches, and you needed like a clever guy to manage all those things for you. And it was, your network points ran into there with all those cables. Now, all you've basically saying is that I take exactly that, I put it into somewhere else, okay, and I connect to that somewhere else via the internet.
Correct.
And that's essentially what Azure is, right?
Yeah, so to take it to the next level, and just to show that, taking that from that data center that might be there, Azure is no different actually, except that it's distributed across the globe over 60 now Azure regions.
Wow.
And connected globally, internationally, about 160,000 submarine fiber cables.
Wow.
It's got 150 edge sites and more than 200 plus Express Route partners. So where Azure steps up in terms of availability is it's exactly in that. It's distributed globally to all customers. and specifically for customers that have got international offices and branches.
Yeah. So I think, Chris, I think I think we've covered some important things here. So basically, we're taking the requirement of an on-site data center and putting it into the cloud, and that obviously reduces a whole bunch of costs around the equipment, what it will cost me, the person to manage it. And then I think if I've just got a secure connection, I should be able to sort of safely operate. The fact that Azure operates with all these various different edge sites mean there's some redundancy, so I don't ever have to worry about losing the ability to connect to my data. But what about security? Because I'm sure that's a big thing. How do we make sure that everything's secure?
Well, let's work on some key benefits within the Azure space. And if we look at the key benefits of Azure as we stand right now, cost benefit, and I'll get to the security question quick within the next minute or two. Just want to go over some key benefits of Azure and why you'd want to choose Azure. Number one, it's cost effective, and why we say it's cost effective is that you can run your environment on a per hour basis or not. If you're not running your environment for 740 hours per month and only 400 hours per month, you will only pay for the 100 hours that you're running the environment for. So it's cost effective, and there's various mechanisms that we can employ should you wish to run your environment fully. Scalable. In the middle of the month, we can up your CPU requirements. If you've got commission runs or things like that happening, at the end of the month that you need to get out to we can up the CPUs and the RAM for you and take it back down after the end of the month if you wanted to. Current, because you've always got access to the latest, greatest operating systems, Windows Server 2022. If you're running SQL Server or any other Microsoft-based license, you've always got access to the latest, greatest with no upgrade costs in that. And fantastic. Reliable. Azure comes in at 99.99% uptime. That's backed, Gareth, by a financially punitive SLA by Microsoft directly to the customer. And the top one by customers, and what I'm seeing at the moment, top reason why customers are choosing Azure now is security.
Okay.
And it is the number one reason for it, because Azure, as we stand right now, is the globally and considered by Gartner, Forrester, and various independent research committees and organizations to be the most secure hyperscale data center globally at the moment.
That's awesome.
Right, so I alluded to the fact that we would talk a little bit more about security. So just in terms of why security in Azure is such a competitive advantage for Azure, and how that competitive advantage in security translates directly to the customer. So if you think about any Microsoft online service at this point in time, what would you think about?
I can see them there. So we've got OneDrive, Outlook, Azure, Xbox, Windows. There's various different ways we connect.
Yeah, if you think about Xbox, Xbox currently is an online service. It's very big.
Yeah,
probably bigger than some Azure customers we have at the moment. Windows connects to online services every single day. What Microsoft have done at this point in time is actually over the past 3 or 4 years is they've taken all these online services and they've plugged it into what they call the security graph.
Yeah.
And the security graph is looking at all those 60 plus regions that our Azure customers are currently operating in, and looking at the security landscape of our customers 24/7, 365. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
If something happens in South Korea or in Russia, and this graph picks it up that is happening, if my customer, which is an Azure customer, is plugged into this graph, it's probably within minutes, if not seconds, that customer's tenant knows about that outbreak in South Korea and is already awake alert and aware of might be coming down the submarine fiber cables in the next few minutes.
That's amazing.
And that just to finish off the security discussion in Azure, especially the Microsoft security discussion, is that Microsoft are investing billions and billions of dollars into the security graph.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. I think, just to recap, we've ascertained that Azure is essentially Microsoft's data center offering, and it means that you don't have to have that traditional server room that sits in your office. Your customers can move everything to the cloud. As long as they connect via the internet, they can run their business in the cloud because it's going to cost them less. That it's going to be able to grow with them. So you said it was scalable. It's flexible. So if they've got like busy periods during the month or year, they can scale up or scale down. And it's reliable. So it comes with a 99.999% punitive SLA from Microsoft. So if they don't deliver a service, the customer has recourse, which is amazing. And most importantly, it's very, very secure. And Microsoft are investing billions of dollars to make sure that the customer's data is secure and the integrity remains intact. So, from my perspective, it looks like, why not go for Azure? So I hope that we've managed to put some information across to you guys that's going to help you. I know it was very basic, but those are the cost benefits or the value props of Azure. And this is the reason why you should be approaching all your customers and moving them over to Azure, either from on-site or from another data center. Push them all to Chris. I'm sure he'll be happy to take your calls or send your information to one of his specialists. Chris, is there anything you want to say in closing?
No, it's at least let's have the discussion. There's so many options and services available in Azure. There's potentially not a solution in Azure that we cannot help your customer with.
Okay, guys, stay safe, stay lekker, sell hard. Chris, thank you very much. And
thanks, everybody.
We'll see you guys for the next one.
Good.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.